In this interview, I talked with Becky, who got her bachelor's degree in psychology with a minor in German and sociology, got her master's in industrial organizational psychology, and is currently working towards her PhD and is working on her dissertation. Currently, she works in risk management, but before this, she worked in various jobs. She worked in daycare, she worked in child welfare, juvie probation, protection of minors in university, and she also managed a group home. Within these jobs, she found a lot of it rewarding. She was able to help people find permanent homes, which was really important, especially within child welfare. She was able to keep kids safe, and also a very important part of this job that was really fulfilling for her was being a safe space for the kids and allowing them to just be able to grow in that and be able to get through the hardship that they were experiencing. Within this job, most of the duties that were associated with it, she was working with families and family services, and so she made a lot of referrals, helped de-escalate people if they were in a crisis state. She helped make case plans. She also wrote court reports after going to court, and being involved in that process in child welfare. She also testified in courts, and then she also helped remove children from abusive situations, as well as making doctor appointments, scheduling team meetings, and a lot of paperwork as well, as that is a big part of the child welfare and working in the government setting. In addition to what I already said, other fulfilling things, she also found a lot of challenges within working in this industry, in the different settings that she was in. At one point, she did work for a nonprofit, and so some of the challenges with that was just not the best pay, not having the resources, and they were dependent on Medicaid funding, and they constantly had to keep a running tally of what they did to bill for those. So it was just a lot of paperwork, a lot of keeping track of every little thing, and it was a lot of pressure. Within the group home, a lot of the struggles came with staffing. In juvie, a lot of it was just strain getting help and holding accountable the people that she was working with, and also working with low-income families who don't have money to pay for the different testing that would be needed, and so that was difficult to figure out, just with having to get these tests done but also not having the money to do so. In university, she just found that people didn't really understand what could lead to abuse, and so she just found that difficult, and a lot of people not understanding that and having to teach that to others. And then in her child welfare time, there's just very long hours. Court was difficult for her and a lot of other people within the social work setting. She was always being told that she was wrong, just couldn't win in that regard. It's just verbal aggressiveness and violence, and clients just not wanting to cooperate because it's just from this broken home and not being able to control them exactly. Just a lot of aggression, and then also leadership, putting them in just unsafe situations, and just not providing the support that was needed. And so within that, her recommendations for a student who is pursuing work in this field and trying to overcome and kind of deal with these difficulties, is that she gives some recommendation on just job searching, and just when you're job searching, to make sure that you find a place that is willing to teach and onboard well, that is willing to train you and not just throw you in to everything and not help you at all. She also said places that give caseload limits so that you're not overwhelmed by just so many cases and trying to manage everything at once. And also, it is important to have a workload balance of not being too overwhelmed with too much work that you can't do well and can't put your time and effort into. She also said that you should keep an open mind as you're searching for jobs and as you're in your job, and be willing to learn and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions about what you don't understand or as what is confusing to you. She said you also should be able to advocate for yourself, as she experienced within working in child welfare, of just not having the best leadership over her, and putting her into these situations that just weren't good. She was just saying that you should be able to advocate and stand up for yourself in these situations and learn to do that. And she also said that you should find a job that is aligned with your purpose. So whatever your purpose is, make sure that you find a job that has those same things in mind. In order to continue professional growth in the field after you graduate college and kind of move into your career, but you want to keep on learning and growing, she says that you can do grad school, you can do classes, also volunteering, interning at different places in order to get a feel for what you would want to do and also just build new skills. She said you can also take on a second job if possible to grow in different skills. This could even just be as simple as working in a nonprofit or just some sort of volunteer setting. She said you can also go to free webinars and even conferences that focus on certain topics such as trauma-informed intervention, things like that. She said you can also connect with people on LinkedIn and other platforms in order to build connections and grow in your skills. There's also local psychology groups that you can join that talk about these different topics, and also on-the-job training will constantly, like depending on what field you're in, they can teach you more skills in order to do better at what you're doing. So that's kind of an overview of the interview that I had with Becky. I learned a lot from this interview of just what I may want to do in the future. I am kind of still undecided on what I would like to do, and so hearing about her different career changes throughout the years really helped me see that even if I choose one thing, I can always do something later. She moved from working in nonprofits and child welfare to, from that, seeing that case managers, there's a high turnover, and now she is working on doing industrial organizational psychology type of things in order to hopefully help with this area and help have the turnover be less for case managers so that foster kids and just kids in general can get the help that they need without constantly having their case manager leave and having to get new ones and things like that. So I learned a lot about just career changes and just the way that you can always do something new. And also I learned just a lot about the steps that I can take to prepare myself for the psychology field and stand up for myself and just be prepared as I go into a field that maybe I don't know a lot about at the moment. So yeah, that's all that I learned in this interview. Was super helpful in preparing myself to enter the psychology field.